So this celebrity is now in jail for angrily running over and unaliving a guy with his car. His name is Suge Knight, the same Suge who once ruled over Death Row Records, the dude behind legends like Dr. Dre, Tupac, and Snoop Dogg. Back in the day, he was the boss of bosses in the rap game. But in 2015, one parking lot argument flipped everything upside down. What started as a heated fight turned into a full-blown tragedy, and the man who helped shape West Coast hip-hop ended up behind bars for almost 3 decades. Yeah, that's right. The same guy who once walked red carpets with rap's biggest names now spends his days in a prison cell. So before Suge became one of hip-hop's most feared names, he was just a kid from Compton trying to make it big. Born Marion Hugh Knight Jr., he started off playing football in college and even had a short run with the LA Rams. But Suge wasn't built to take orders. He was built to give them. So when the NFL dream didn't work out, he pivoted to something else that mixed power, money, and danger: the music business. In the late 80s, Suge started working as a bodyguard for celebrities, one of them being Bobby Brown. That's where he learned the ropes of the industry. But Suge wasn't content being in the background. By the early 90s, he was managing artists, negotiating record deals, and building a reputation for being the guy you didn't want to mess with. Then came Death Row Records. Alongside Dr. Dre, Suge built the label into an empire. We're talking multi-platinum hits, red carpet fame, and an image that screamed power. Under his leadership, Death Row dropped classics like The Chronic and Doggy Style, turning West Coast rap into a global movement. But while the label was climbing the charts, Suge was also building enemies, and the line between music business and street business started to blur real fast. So, it's January 2015, and Suge finds himself near the set of the movie Straight Outta Compton. The film was a big deal. It was telling the story of NWA, and a lot of people tied to that history were involved. One of those people was CLE Bone Sloan, a guy who'd done stunt work and was helping with the production. Now, Suge and Bone, they didn't exactly have a friendly past. There was tension, some old bad blood. And when the two ran into each other near a fast food spot in Compton, things went south fast. The argument blew up, voices got loud, and then it got physical. Witnesses say Bone started throwing punches, and Suge, who was behind the wheel of his truck, panicked. He hits the gas, wants to get away, then again in reverse. And in those few chaotic seconds, everything changed. His truck hits Bone, grazing him, and then slams into another man, Terry Carter, who unfortunately doesn't survive. The whole thing is caught on camera, and when the footage hits the news, it's everywhere. Suge claims he was just trying to escape an ambush, that he thought his life was in danger. But to the police, it looked like something else entirely, a hit and run that left one man injured and another unalived. After the incident, things move fast. Suge turns himself in, and the cops charge him with murder, attempted murder, and hit and run. And just like that, the man who once owned one of the biggest rap empires on the planet is now fighting for his freedom. But if you think the case was simple, nah. It turned into one of the messiest legal sagas in hip-hop history. Suge went through lawyers like outfits. He fired some, others quit, and court dates kept getting delayed. He claimed poor health, fainted in the courtroom, and even said he was being mistreated in jail. It was chaos, pure Suge Knight-style chaos. At one point, prosecutors accused him of witness intimidation. Rumors swirled that people connected to the case were too scared to talk. Every headline felt like something out of a movie. The fall of a king who once called himself untouchable. For 3 long years, Suge sat behind bars waiting for the trial to start. And by 2018, he had a choice to make: roll the dice with a murder trial or take a deal. So, after years of courtroom drama, Suge finally decides to take a deal. In 2018, he pleads no contest to voluntary manslaughter, basically admitting he caused a man's death, but not that it was planned. The judge accepts it, and boom, Suge gets hit with 22 years for the manslaughter charge and another 6 years because of a third strike rule from his past offenses. That's a total of 28 years behind bars. When the sentence drops, the courtroom is dead silent. This is the same guy who once pulled up to award shows in limos, surrounded by bodyguards, dripping in power and money. Now he's standing in a jumpsuit, listening to a judge tell him he won't even be eligible for parole until 2037. After the hearing, Suge's taken to the Richard J. Donovan Correctional Facility in San Diego County. And just like that, one of hip-hop's most notorious figures goes from mogul to inmate. Once Suge's locked up, it's like the world moves on without him. The rap game changes, new artists rise, and Death Row Records becomes just a memory of the wild 90s. But Suge? He's still making headlines, just not the kind he used to. Not long after he's sent to prison, word gets out that Suge's been talking. He allegedly claims that Dr. Dre, yeah, the same Dre he helped launch into superstardom, was somehow behind a plot to get rid of him. According to Suge, it was all part of some murder-for-hire setup with a paper trail to prove it. Wild, right? Of course, nobody ever finds this supposed proof. The courts don't buy it, and Dre never gets charged with anything related to Suge's claims. It all just adds another layer to Suge's legend. This mix of truth, paranoia, and the kind of drama only he could attract. Still, life behind bars isn't exactly quiet for him. Suge's known to give interviews, call into podcasts, and even send messages from prison. He talks about his past, about loyalty, betrayal, and the mistakes that got him there. But despite the tough talk, one thing's clear: Suge's empire is gone, and he's living with the consequences. So fast forward a few years into Suge's sentence, and he's not ready to give up just yet. He files paperwork trying to overturn his conviction, claiming there were problems with how the case was handled and that new evidence could clear him. But here's the thing, the courts weren't having it. Now in 2025, the judge straight up denied the appeal. They say the filing came too late, and there wasn't enough solid evidence to reopen the case. And that's it. Case closed. Suge stuck with the same 28-year sentence. No new trial, no second chance. By this point, he's in his late 50s, and time's doing what even his enemies couldn't, breaking down the man who once terrified the entire music industry. The same Suge who ran Death Row Records with an iron fist is now just another inmate counting down the years. But even from behind bars, his name still echoes through hip-hop history. Some people say he got what was coming, others call it karma, and a few still swear he was set up. Either way, Suge Knight's story became one of the wildest cautionary tales the music world's ever seen. When you really think about it, Suge's story feels like something straight out of a movie. Fame, power, betrayal, and a downfall no one could have predicted. Back in the 90s, he was untouchable. He had the biggest artists, the biggest hits, and a reputation that made even the toughest guys think twice. But that same fear, that same need for control, became the thing that destroyed him. Today, Suge's name still gets brought up in hip-hop conversations, but not for the reasons it used to. People don't talk about The Chronic or All Eyes on Me as much as they talk about that day in 2015, the courtroom drama, and the endless what-ifs. What if Suge had just walked away that day? What if he had left the streets behind when he made it big? It's crazy because he helped shape an entire era of music, but now he's mostly remembered as the guy who lost everything because of one moment of rage. His story's a reminder that power can make you feel invincible, but it doesn't make you untouchable. And when the consequences catch up, even the biggest names can fall hard. So yeah, that's the wild story of Suge Knight, the music mogul who went from running Death Row Records to running out of time behind bars. It's one of those stories that makes you realize how fast power can flip into punishment. What do you think? Was Suge just a product of his environment, or did he take things too far? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'm really curious to see what you think about this one. And hey, if you want more crazy stories about celebrities who ended up behind bars, hit that like button, smash that subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. Because trust me, the next story is going to be crazier.